If you like storytime vibes, hit subscribe and let's dive in together.
People say betrayal cuts like a knife. They're wrong. Knives are merciful. Betrayal is slower. Warm skin, soft breathing, a familiar body beneath your hands, until your eyes land on a bruise you didn't leave. That's when you learn what real pain is, the kind that smiles at you while killing you quietly. I didn't discover the truth because I was clever. I discovered it because Emily got sloppy. It happened during one of those nights she suddenly wanted to reconnect. Nights she initiated intimacy after weeks of acting like my touch was an inconvenience. I should have known then. People don't rediscover passion overnight. They seek refuge when guilt makes their skin itch. She kissed me first. She moved like she was performing a duty, not a desire. Her hands trembled, and I felt her flinch at her own thoughts, not at me. And then her blouse slid open. That's when everything stopped. Right above her left breast, where my lips had once memorized every inch, was a mark. Deep purple, rounded at the edges, fresh, a bruise shaped by a mouth that wasn't mine. My breath turned metallic. My stomach lurched. I couldn't decide if I wanted to scream, to walk out, or to tear the truth out of her throat. "What's that?" I asked quietly. She didn't even look down, just tightened her jaw, prepared the lie. "Someone bumped into me at work. We were moving equipment. It was an accident." Accident. What a beautifully stupid word. Her voice was steady, but her body wasn't. Her pulse throbbed right under that bruise, as if the guilt itself was trying to escape. What she didn't know was this. Tonight wasn't about passion. It was a trap, a test I had set long before her clothes hit the floor. And that bruise? It was her failing grade. People talk about gut feelings, like they're spiritual. Mine felt more like organ failure. Every morning, I woke beside Emily with that same quiet dread, a pressure behind my ribs, a coldness at the base of my spine, the body knowing what the mind refuses to accept. She still smiled, still asked about my day, still kissed me goodbye, but something inside her had shifted, and no amount of pretending could hide it. She used to smell like my cologne after hugging me. Now she came home smelling like citrus and someone else's evening. The first change I noticed was her phone. She didn't guard it. That would have been too obvious. Instead, she became casually careful, face down on tables, notifications silenced. A smile lingered a second too long after reading certain messages. And then there were her late meetings, always on Tuesdays, always ending at the exact same time, 4:17 p.m. I checked, repeatedly. I told myself I was being paranoid. That marriage made men insecure. That Emily, the woman who once cried because she thought she disappointed me, couldn't be capable of this. But paranoia doesn't print receipts. The turning point came when I smelled a scent on her blouse, a warm, expensive cologne I didn't recognize. Not sprayed, transferred, pressed into the fabric the way someone leaves themselves on a person they've touched too closely. My mind didn't break. It sharpened. I started watching her more carefully, not obsessively, strategically. I memorized patterns, tracked times, took photos of her outfits before she left and after she returned. Noticed the faint lipstick smudge on her coffee cup that wasn't her shade. Screenshot her calendar, checked credit card statements, cross-referenced dates. I became a man living in silence, but thinking in calculations. And the worst part, she had no idea. She still kissed me every night, gently, absent-mindedly, like a wife who loved her husband, and I let her. Because love wasn't what held me there anymore. It was the need for the truth, the kind that doesn't just reveal, but convicts. It wasn't one grand revelation that destroyed me. It was something small, insignificant, stupid even. A receipt, not crumpled, not hidden, just sitting in the pocket of Emily's beige coat, the one she wore on her long meetings. I wasn't looking through her things out of rage. Not yet. I told myself I was checking the pockets before sending it to dry cleaning. That's how self-delusion works. It protects you until it realizes you're too weak to handle the truth. The receipt was from a boutique hotel bar. 2 glasses of Prosecco. 1 whiskey neat. Charged at 2:41 p.m. That time punched me harder than any confession ever could, because 2:41 p.m. was the exact minute she texted me. Lunch ran long, babe. Exhausted. Can't wait to nap when I'm home. I felt my throat close, my fingers trembled. The room tilted slightly, like gravity was reconsidering its loyalty. Shock, nausea, rage. None of them arrived cleanly. They tangled together, forming something black and metallic inside my chest. A pressure that made it hard to breathe. I didn't cry. Tears would have been mercy. Instead, I just stared. The letters blurred, but the meaning didn't. My mind replayed every moment from the past few weeks and stitched them into a story even a fool could read. I placed the receipt on the table, sat down, let the silence build around me like scaffolding for a future I didn't want. And then, something inside me hardened, not broken, not shattered, just cold. A clarity that tasted cruel. I started searching with purpose now, not fear. I checked her bank statements, her calendar sync, her work emails. I found an Uber trip to an address near the hotel, a second receipt from the same bar, deleted photos recovered from her cloud backup, nothing explicit, but the angles, the lighting, the makeup she never wore for me. It was enough. Pieces became patterns. Patterns became evidence. Evidence became truth. And the truth finally became unbearable. That night, lying beside her, pretending to sleep while she scrolled through her phone, I felt something I never expected to feel toward the woman I married. Indifference. Cold, terrifying indifference. The moment a heart stops breaking and starts calculating. I didn't confront Emily immediately. Violence is loud. Revenge, real revenge, is quiet. For days, I moved around her like a ghost wearing my own skin. Calm, predictable, unthreatening. The kind of calm that should terrify any guilty person. And slowly, I watched fear bloom behind her eyes. She sensed the shift, but didn't know what shape it would take. That was the point. I needed her to walk straight into the trap, believing it was love. So, I softened my voice, cooked dinner, let my hand rest on her lower back the way she always liked. Played the role of the devoted husband one last time, because I wanted her guard down when the knife slid in. On the night I chose, she leaned into me first. Apologetic, needy, too desperate to notice the ice in my touch. "I've missed you," she whispered, a line rehearsed not for me, but for whichever man she'd been practicing intimacy with lately. I kissed her, slowly, deliberately, and she followed my lead with a trembling eagerness that almost disgusted me. When we reached the bedroom, I pretended to hesitate, just enough for her to think she was winning me back. And then, when her blouse slipped from her shoulder, there it was, the bruise, darker now, riper, a signature carved into her flesh by someone else's mouth. This time, I didn't pretend shock. I just stared, long enough for her breathing to break. "What?" she whispered, eyes wide. My voice was a blade wrapped in silk. "Explain it." She swallowed hard. "I told you, it was someone at work. We bumped into..." Try again. That's when her face collapsed. The lie crumbled before it even left her lips. She knew. She knew the moment I asked again that the game was over. She covered the bruise with her hand, like hiding it could somehow rewind reality. "Please," she begged. It didn't mean... I didn't let her finish, because the truth wasn't in her words. It was in her fear, and fear never lies. Emily was still covering the bruise when I stepped away from her. Not angrily, not dramatically, just stepping back from something rotten. Sit, I said. She froze. I didn't raise my voice, didn't touch her, didn't threaten. That's the thing about real power. You don't need volume. You only need certainty. When she didn't move, I pulled open the nightstand drawer and placed everything on the bed between us. The receipts, the Uber logs, the hotel bar charges, screenshots, printouts, recovered files, and the photo, the one of her in makeup she never wore for me, taken in a bathroom I'd never seen, wearing the necklace I bought her for our 5th anniversary. Her hand dropped from her chest. She stared as if the evidence itself punched the air out of her lungs. She whispered, voice cracking. It's not what it looks like. It's exactly what it looks like. She collapsed onto the edge of the bed, shaking, bawling, falling apart in the mess she created. I watched her cry, not out of hatred, not out of pity, but because I needed to witness the moment she realized she had ruined the only person who ever chose her without conditions. Please, she begged. We can fix this. I'll change. I'll do anything. Don't leave. Please don't leave me alone. Alone. Funny word, coming from someone who made sure I felt alone for months. I took a shallow breath. Then the cold settled into my bones as naturally as truth settles into silence. I'm not staying, I said, calm, even, surgical. She choked on a sob. Where are you going? I picked up my already packed bag from the closet, something she hadn't noticed, too busy memorizing lies to see the truth. Someplace you can't follow. Her face crumpled. We can talk. No, I said softly. Talking is what couples do, and we stopped being a couple the moment you gave yourself to someone else. She reached for my hand. I stepped back, not violently, not angrily, just firmly enough to let the distance become permanent. The door felt heavier than usual when I opened it, as if it knew it was becoming a border between 2 different lives. Goodbye, Emily. And with that, I walked out, down the hallway, down the stairs, out the front door, into the night air that felt like the first honest thing to touch me in months. I didn't slam the door. I didn't look back. I didn't wait for one last plea. Because sometimes the cruelest thing you can give someone is the silence they earned.